not an easy thing to do. You just don't get a Kiwiji, you earn it.
Come on, second row, Willie.
You really have to earn it. And then to keep it on, you've got to play well. And you've got to perform. I remember getting the jersey. They used to hand them out, and that was it. You know, there wasn't any fanfare or anything. Here's your jersey. But I remember going back in my room and putting it on and looking at it and going, oh, whoa, I've got my jersey, you know. I want to keep it for as long as I can.
Make it believable and keep it true.
Wahine Māori are hardwired to think about what's good for people.
I know that my lived experience can help so many others.
The photographs are a record of how divisive that period was.
I never stand up there and say I speak for all Māori.
I just thought, I'd try to do the best I could with something that I could do well. I'd like to do that. Haven't seen this tape 4.
What makes a good rugby league player?
Well, it's got to have skill. It's got to be strong. He's got to have the ability to listen. And he's got to have courage to go out in the field and play. You can't hide in a game of rugby league. It's the one-on-one clashes that you have to expect. You know, normally it's 2-on-1, 3-on-1. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to play rugby league because it is a real physical game. And that's not taking anything away from rugby union. It's just the game has less players, so there's more room to move. It's for people to watch, to entertain. I guess it was through the professionalisation of the game back in England many, many years ago that made the difference. I can remember watching rugby league on TV, black and white TV back in the day, you know, in the early 60s, and watching the Challenge Cup final in England. You know, so it was all grainy and black and white, and I saw them walking around Wembley Stadium with the band and all that sort of thing, and I thought, wow, well, that would be awesome to play, you know. It was sort of like something that I thought, oh, wow, you know, that would be just one of the most awesome things to be able to do. I just thought, yeah, I'd like to do that. Born and bred in Waitara, a freezing works town. You know, it was just a really healthy, vibrant town. It had a really reputation, you know, like a tough town, and you know, the freezing works was, you know, like there was 1,200 people working in the seasons and stuff. You know, so it actually was a mainstay of the town. You know, there was a lot of money. Quite a bit of drinking too, you know. But that was typical of New Zealand towns at those times, you know, in the 60s and 70s. But it was a great town, you know, like it has a history of having great sports people. So this is the house that I grew up in with my siblings and my mother. My father left home when I was 3. We had a family of 5 and there was just my mother. But she was an amazing woman. She was lovely. She always helping people, always doing things for people. I don't know how she did it, you know, bringing up 5 kids at that time, but you know, we made it all pretty well. I couldn't have wished for a better mother. My mum was Pākehā, so she couldn't teach me Māori, you know, so there was a gap in it, as such, you know, like that kids don't have today. There was no one there to just keep talking, that could teach me how to speak Māori, or talk Māori.
Aha ko kaore a Howie uhia ki te reo i ai e tamariki ana, e karaputia ia e te hapuri wairua Māori o Waitara i te wā e tino ora ana te hapuri.
I had the freedom to come and go, because there was only mum and she was working, so come home from school and then go off with my mates and we go down the beach and, play in the sand dunes and, it was great, and the weekends I'd just disappear for the day, and mum wouldn't worry because she'd always know I'd come back at the end of the day. I was a typical state house, Where it was situated was good, because it's just down the road from Owai, our local marae. Back in those days, we used to get hundreds of people coming for different things, So I'd just go over the pa. As soon as I saw a bus over there, I was over there, I've still got kuia that are still alive that used to call me the Pākit, Yeah, it was good. But I used to go over there all the time. I always say I learned how to tackle on the marae, There's this big green space. The kids were playing out there all the time, like kids do in the marae.
He mea ako te rutu e Howie ki rō marae. He o ia no, ka tino whanake aua pūkenga ki te papariki o Waitara. I aia e pūrei riki ana I tana ohinga.
I've always played rugby league. As a kid, my dad played for the New Zealand Māori team in 1956. He toured Australia, so rugby league was really entrenched in the Tamati family, all his brothers, my aunties and my mum especially. They were all rugby league supporters,
Kaore a Howie I ka hawhai wāhi atu ki tana matua. I noho ia me ona tūākana, I raro I te marumarutanga o tō rātau whāia. Nā rā wāke ka tūtaki tōna whāia I tētahi tāne ko Brian Lambert.
He was a great sportsman of his day, and he became a father figure for me, so they were in a relationship, and it was him who taught me how to train. Like he was a great cyclist, he was a wood chopper, very, very fit, and a very, very good athlete.
E roto I ngā tau o te kura, ka tuputana kai ngā kau ki ngā hā kina. He pūkenga hoki ia ki ngā tākaro maha. He o no ki hai e rā pūkenga I whakawhiti atu ki rō akomanga.
I just did not like school. So, I couldn't wait to leave school. I think the teachers were the same, they all lined up when I left and they clapped as I went out the door. Yeah. So, I left school, fifth form, as soon as I could. When I went down to freezing works, So I spent off and on, like it was seasonal, 20 years in the freezing works. I always say I got a degree in meteorology at the Waitara freezing works. But the environment was cool, I loved the people, they cared about me because they knew I had a talent in rugby league. I remember one time I'd been mucking around and one of the men come over and stood alongside me, and he says, "Look at you, you're useless. You think you're going to play for New Zealand? You're kidding, the way you're acting." He said, "You need to pull your finger out of your backside, man, start having a real go, And I just put my head down because, I was just out there, like all my mates, we were just going out every weekend, drinking and, chasing girls and, just having a good time and playing footy in them, So they gave me basically a verbal kick up the bum, which, was quite meaningful at the time.
Nā te wharepatu miti o Waitara tēnā hapuri I whāngai mō ngā taumaha. It was a forever moving cycle.
I just wanted to get out of Waitara and just see a bit of the world. And Sydney was a place to go, I spent 3 years over there playing, having a great time. It was in the 70s, Sydney was rocking and, the place was humming. But the rugby league was great. But I accidentally hit someone in the head round about there with my thumb and broke it scaphoid. So, and I couldn't work. And I was watching a friend of mine play for New Zealand against Australia. And his name was Graham West. I was talking to my mate. I said, you see that big guy there? I played against him back home. I'm just as good as him. Not thinking that he was 17 stone and 6'5", you know. I just said, you know, I can do that, you know. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I know you can, and you should. I said, I'm going home. Yeah. That's it, you know, Graham West. I want to do what Westy did. If he can do it, I can do it, you know. Yeah, cool. It took me 3-4 years to do that. But I just never lost sight of it when I wanted, you know.
This was one of the defining moments in Howie's life. It meant the difference between being a really good rugby league player and a great legend of the game.
So how's your leg?
I don't think I'll be playing this weekend.
Nor will I.
Bit iffy.
He mārakerake te whainga i mua ia Howie, a mā te whirinaki atu ki tana whānau tonu ia I tino whanake ai.
Howie was the baby of the family, and as all babies, the families are, they're spoilt. He had the skills there, we had to practice. We spent a lot of time, extra practice, you know, getting the dummy half pass right, trying to stretch it another metre or so wider. And
You remember that day out here? It was right at the end of the game, and I made a breakaway, and we were playing Inglewood, and I got tackled, and the game was over. You know, I could have finished with a
spectacular try.
Yeah, and he got me. And then I went off. I was so brassed off, you know, because I couldn't outrun him. And then you come on the field and you said, you know what's wrong with you? And I went, yeah. He said, yeah. You said, you're too slow.
We went and joined the Athletics Club, trying to get him a bit more speed so he could get out of dummy half a bit or something, because he had these wobbly crayfish legs that didn't used to move very far. So anyhow, we trained all year with all these sprint techniques. We sprinted uphill, we sprinted downhills, we did all these exercises. And then came the end of the club night, which is only a small club, Waitara Athletics, and they had this, usually for little kids, you know, but because we had this group of boys training, they had a sprint race for the boys, and they had the Waitara Championship Sprint for the year, Sprint Champion for the year. So they lined them all up, and they're all cunning as, and they get down there, on your marks, get set, he's gone. Go. They didn't pull him back. He jumped about a metre at the start, and they didn't have a full start.
Okay,
they let him
so I had
go.
good reflexes in those days.
Well, it was. You were quicker
really
than the
good
gun, mate.
Yeah,
That's pretty quick.
No, I heard the click, and that was it.
Yeah, and he managed to dip on the line and win. So he was the
Fastest man in Waitara.
100-metre champion for that year. We should try everything to get acknowledgement of your feats, and I was probably the first coach to take stats and over here in this country, and just to promote and try and get a trial, get a lift up. He had to do the work, but it was a bit of a team effort, I think, you know, because I was always hoping for success for him. So when it finally came and got selected in '79, sort of over the moon, really. I would have liked it to be me, actually, but I wasn't good enough. But I wanted to know, you know. So it was good putting the time into someone who's really working hard for something, you know.
I remember coming back from trials, and I was in the car driving back to Waitara from the airport, you know, and it come over the radio that, you know, I'd made it. Yeah. I pulled up at home, and there's all my family, you know, all the family was standing on the grass, you know, on the lawn. Yeah, it was amazing. I tell you what, in those days, you know, someone from Taranaki making the Kiwis was very, very hard, you know, it was exceptional, really. Yeah, well, it was rough. I know it was dirty, but, you know, it was really physical combat some of the times, you know. And, you know, the odd stiff arm and that sort of thing, it's just part and parcel of the game. You know, if it was really bad, they get sent off, but otherwise you just got a warning and get on with it, you know. They hit you, you hit the back, and but I was just brought up with it, so you know, it didn't worry me. You know, if someone belted me, I ran around trying to square it up, and you know, scrums were good, you know. This guy, he was running pretty hard, and I said, well, this guy's, we can sort him out, eh? So I had Kevin over here, and we had his head in between us. So what I did was, what you could do in those days, as a hooker, I could put my head in there, and he couldn't move his head. And I jammed it up with Kevin's, but Kevin was free, had the free arm, because he was he was basically, you know, like that. And then Kevin just went, oh, good old days. The challenge then was to find the new goal, you know. So my goal of getting to the Kiwis had been made, and so I had to find that, what do I want to do now, you know. So stay there. So 7 years. Yeah.
I tana pautū mārotanga he whetū kōrakorako a Howie Putanoi I te motu, mo tana huatau, mo tana atamai, mo ana tini pūkenga I runga hoki I te papawhutu pōro. Ka tūtaki a Howie ki tana hoa rangatira I te tūponotanga o ana tino kai ngākau e rua.
I te mahi au mō koha I te rawa, I hanga au, I te hanga au I tētahi kōrero mō ngā te hākina kina Māori I te rawa.
One of the TV guys said, Howie, do you want to get on TV and meet a nice, beautiful Māori girl at the same time? And I said, oh, yeah.
I taua rā I haere mātou ki tēti kura tama I reiranga Kiwi. Me taku hiehia ki te uiui I ētehi o ngā Māori roto I te tima o rātou whakaaro mo te tākaro, mo Aotearoa.
And there was this beautiful young Māori woman there. And I looked at her and I said, hello. And she said, hello. So I went out, you know, and it was Aroaro.
Koia. O he tino rongonui rāua ko tōna karangarua, Kevin, tino rongonui ki te motu pānui. Kāre au I tino mōhio ki te ao riki. Nō reire I te tūtakitanga, kāre au I mōhio ki tana rongonui. Atu I tana tākaro mō Aotearoa.
Ka mutu ana te whetū tau e parahuti ana I te papatākaro I te taumata tike rawa. Ka hāngai te tirohanga a Howie ki ngā mahi kaiako, ko te whainga kia kake ki ngā teiteitanga o e rā mahi.
One of the worst kept league secrets spread like a bushfire yesterday. A few hours later, the deal officially sealed. New Zealand League boss George Rainey was adamant the right choice had been made.
We believe that the future for the Kiwis is best with the new coach.
Yeah, well, that was difficult because I was so constrained by the New Zealand Rugby League, you know. I wasn't given the ability to pick my own team. So I had 5 selectors, one from 1950, one from 1960, 170 and 180, you know, and me. You don't have control of your life, you know. And I had to try and work my way through all that.
Howie Tamati's expression gave away nothing this afternoon. Feeling confident, Howie?
Yeah, I'm all right.
It's been an unsettling time for Tamati over the Christmas break. Whispers of his possible axing have hung in the air ever since the Kiwis' third straight test loss to Great Britain back in November.
I stand accountable, you know, if they want my head, well, you know, that's so be it. If that's New Zealand sport, that's New Zealand administrators, well, let's get there and let me stand in front of the board.
Since the side returned home, others have been quick to add their 10 cents worth, notably Mr League Graham Lowe.
He Māori ia, kāore tira pē ko te motu I whakapono, I tautoko, I te Māori e whakahaere ana I te tīma Kiwi. Ko ana mahi o rite ki ngā kaiako I mua, engari e hari te Māori rātou. Nō reira, ko ana me tana ū ki ona whakaaro, mo te whakahaere, te whakahaere I te tīma.
It's the coach that gets the blame. Coaches lose, players win. It's a tough world.
Koe te ona mahi whakauru I ngā karakia Māori ki te mahi whakahaere o te tīma. Kore rawa te riki Aotearoa I pai ki tēnā, I rata ki tēnā. Kore rawa e te o ngā kai tākaro o ngā Kiwi I rata ki tēnā. Nō reire uaua tērā.
It's the ones that are working behind your back. You know, you feel knives all the time, you know. They say, oh, he shouldn't have been there in the first place, you know. I'll bag him or, you know, I don't believe in him, he's no good, you know. And so the moment you get in, you can feel people working to get you out. That's what I found anyway.
Ko Howie te tumuaki o Rugby League New Zealand, he tūranga e ngā ko nui ana ki aia. A piti atu, ko ana tini utanga I roto I tōna anō hapuri mō ngā tau toru tekau kua hipa. Te hapuri nā rātau ia I poepoi.
When I first got back here, no one knew me. Yeah, they knew of me and all that sort of thing, but I really didn't have a place in this community. You know, I've lived in Waitara most of my life, and I was living in Waitara sort of thing. Came back from Wellington, and I decided that I would be able to communicate better and be recognised by people if I got on the council. So I stood for, first of all, I stood for the Waitara Community Board. I just a slow entry and learned a little bit about local government. And then the next term I stood for council, and then sort of like 4 or 5 terms there over the years. The other key thing was Māori influence in the council. So I thought that if I could get into the council, I could probably teach them a little bit about just from a Māori perspective, you know, and what our needs were. And yeah, it was a tough go there for a long time, you know.
I ngā tautata nei, kua pau te kaha o Howie ki tōna anō takiwa o Taranaki. He whakawhanake I a sport Taranaki ki tōna taumata tike. Ko ana mahi ki te Hillary Commission me ētahi anō mahi maha e whakamana ana I tana takiwa I roto I ngā tau.
Grew up and, you know, just love running around, playing sports and anything like that, so... but as I got older, you know, I need to, especially when I finished playing football, you know, I played touch and then I played, I did wakaama, you know, I did all these different sports for a few years and just to keep myself well and healthy, you know, and keep me busy. Did triathlons. I'm not the best triathlon person, but, you know, I had a go.
Ahakoa tonu kaore te reo Māori I whai wāhi nui I te tupuranga o Howie, ka ora I ēnei rā, I roto I ana tamariki, moko puna hoki.
He mohi o ranga whānui ona. Nui te pānui, puka era mea katoa, nō reira. Me tana pākiki ki te ao, pākiki ki ngā āhuatanga o te ao. Nō reira, ahakoa tāna, you know, me noho roto Waitara, he nui ana pūkenga, nui ana mōhioranga.
We just went and got some sushi, Mum.
he pāpā, he koraua, he koko, tino ngā wari, tēno aroha nui, whakatoi hoki. Aroha nui ki ana tamariki katoa, me tana ana mokopuna katoa, whakahihi katoa tērā ki aia. He tautoko, he aroha, he whai whakaaro, he tino pai tana manaaki me te tiaki i tōna whānau katoa.
There we go. The treasure chest. There you go. Pretty good collection there. Well, I gave a lot of my jerseys to the club anyway, so these are sort of the leftovers. You have to spread them out with the kids later on, I think. This was 1983. Test series, 2 games. They beat us in the first one, but first 2 by 1 point, I think. Yes. And then we got them 18-0 in the third test. It's memorable, but it's probably the most memorable game for me. Yeah. This one's the Kiwi one. This is 1993. I was coaching the team. It's more traditional, I suppose. There's a French one. Awesome jersey, all padded up. It's traditional at the time. This is a Kiwis jersey. Some people might remember that. Great Britain series, Wales and France. So we wore this jersey in that tour over there as well. Yeah. Quite like the flash ones, eh? Oh, look. Someone sneaked a Warriors jersey in there. That's my team. Proudly a Warriors supporter. Go boys, have a great year. Yeah, quite like that jersey. Pretty colour in it.
How much has rugby league influenced your life?
Oh, it is my life, really. It's always been part of me, you know. When I was running around with bare feet on an icy day down in Stratford, playing rugby, you know, just playing with the leather ball, you know. But it's, you know, that rugby league it's determined who I am, you know. It's given me a life, it's given me a family, given me this house, you know. Yeah, it's given me an identity, I think, you know. Yeah, it's given me a position in this society, I suppose.